Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks everyone for joining me this morning. I am going to talk to you this morning about UKCA and medical devices, and really to talk to you about, do you really understand the requirements, and how can you get to UKCA? For manufacturers placing medical devices on the market in the UK, there's less than 2 years to go before we have to transition to UKCA. So it's imperative that we all take action as soon as possible. This webinar will provide some guidance on what medical devices manufacturers need to know, what they need to do, and where we're going in future, what will happen after June 2023, and is there anything that you need to do as a manufacturer to take action. So first of all, where are we now? On the 31st of December 2020, I think you all know that we left Europe. The UK separated from Europe, and the UK followed its own way in terms of regulations. So in the UK, the new regulations come into force, and there will be some divergence between what happens in Great Britain and the Northern Ireland. So there will be new rules for market access for the UKCA mark, the UKNI mark. There will be some requirements for registration of devices and responsible persons. And there will be a transition period, as I said, that we've got less than 2 years to go before we all have to have applied UKCA marks for the GB market. And again, there are different rules in Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So before I begin in full, please note that this presentation is based on our current understanding of the UK medical devices regulations, and it's based on guidance from the UK government and the MHRA based on publicly available information. We know that the regulations are going to change, so the information is possible to change between now and 2023, so please bear that in mind. So what are the UKCA requirements? What do you have to do to get your product onto the market in the UK now? Well, first of all, and for those of you that may not be in the UK, it's important to understand what is the UK, what is Great Britain, and what is Northern Ireland. So the United Kingdom is the country of Great Britain and Northern Ireland together, as shown on this map, and Great Britain is made up of Scotland, England, and Wales. And due to the Northern Ireland Protocol, there are different rules in Northern Ireland, and really due to the fact that there is no hard border between the island of Ireland and Northern Ireland. So there has to be free movement of goods within that region, and that's led to different requirements between the mainland of the Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So the legislation in the UK is the UK MDR 2002, the UK Medical Devices Regulations 2002, as amended by a number of amendments over the years. And it is essentially based on the outgoing EU directives as we know them. So the Medical Devices Directive is essentially the backbone of Part 2 of the UK MDR. The Active Implantable Medical Devices Directive, again, is linked to Part 3 of the UK MDR, and the In Vitro Diagnostic Directives are linked to Part 4 of the IVDR. And for Great Britain, that means the UKCA mark. And the EU IVDR will not come into force in Great Britain. So there will be divergence between what happens in Europe and what's happening in the United Kingdom, particularly Great Britain. Saying that, the EU MDR has already come into force in Northern Ireland due to the reasons I said before of the Northern Ireland Protocol. And the EU IVDR will come into force in Northern Ireland from the 26th of May 2022. So what are the timelines? What timelines do we have? What are the grace periods to get to UKCA marking? So the rules came into force on the 1st of January 2021, where the UK medical device regulations took over from the directives, And the period between now and June 2023 is known as the grace period, and all medical devices in Great Britain will have a mandatory UKCA mark from the 1st of July 2023. In the meantime, manufacturers can access the UK market utilising the CE mark, so you can continue to place products onto the market where you have an EU CE mark on your products right up until the 30th of June 2023, except for Northern Ireland, where, as I said, the EU MDR has already come into force. The differences in the UK, the Northern Ireland, is that the Northern Ireland will require continued access of the CE mark, so you can continue to place your product on the market in Northern Ireland based on the CE mark, or if you have a UK approved body, you could choose to place your product onto the market via the UKNI and the CE mark, and these are quite specific cases that we'll talk about a little bit later. So what else do manufacturers need to do? When do they need to act? There are some requirements relating to device registration timelines, and the timelines that I'm presenting here relate to registration of devices within Great Britain. And essentially, you should have already registered your Class 3 and Class 2B implantable devices and IVD List A devices with the MHRA. If you're placing them in the market in the UK, that should have been done by the 30th of April 2021. And again, recently you should have already started to register your Class 2B non-implantable, Class 2A devices and IVD List B and self-test IVDs with the MHRA from the 31st of August 2021. And you have a little bit of time before you have to register your Class 1 devices and general IVDs, but those should be registered with the MHRA by the 31st of December 2021. Again, there's a grace period of registration. It's based on classification, and failure to register products within the GB market means that they can't be placed on the market in Great Britain. The MHRA have a public access database for medical device registration, the MORE database, and it's important to note that the UK responsible person is responsible for that registration of devices. So who is the UK responsible person and where are they located? The UK responsible person acts on behalf of the manufacturer where the manufacturer is located outside of the UK. They act on behalf of the manufacturer to register devices and among other things. And again, they are required to be appointed in line with the grace period. So the MHRA guidance is that you should appoint your UK responsible representative as soon as possible, but if not as soon as possible, in line with the grace periods for classification, based on classification of devices. The key responsibilities of the UK responsible person are that they are responsible for registering devices. They're responsible for ensuring that certain key documents are available within the technical documentation. So they're required to ensure that there's a declaration of conformity to the UK MDR, that there is technical documentation available by the legal manufacturer, and that the manufacturer has relevant certification to place the product on the market. They essentially ensure that appropriate conformity assessment has been taken place and conducted on behalf of the manufacturer if needed. They are also responsible for ensuring that incidents are reported to the MHRA and complaints are identified and reported as well immediately without any undue delay. They're responsible for cooperating with the MHRA if the MHRA have any questions, and they will be required to hold copies of certain key documents. While importers are not required to be a UK responsible person, they are required to inform the UK responsible person of a manufacturer that they intend to import products. And so the UK responsible person is actually responsible for informing the MHRA of the list of importers of their devices. Finally, the UK responsible person should be located or identified on the labelling of a product. So the name and address of the UK responsible person should be on any UKCA marked devices. So what are the differences in Northern Ireland? It is a slightly different situation and slightly different requirements. So I'll talk through a little bit what that means and what the differences are. So in Northern Ireland, because of the EU withdrawal agreement and the Northern Ireland Protocol, a single regulatory trade zone has been established in the Irish Sea. It means that the EU medical devices regulations will apply in Northern Ireland. As I said, the EU MDR has already come into force on May 2021, and the EU IVDR will come into force in May 2022. So CE marking will continue to be required in Northern Ireland for the foreseeable future. And UKNI can be required if a manufacturer has utilised a UK approved body in their conformity assessment process in place of an EU notified body for their CE mark. It should be noted that the UK government has ensured unfettered access for Northern Ireland businesses into the GB market. So if you're a Northern Ireland business, you should be able to continue to place products onto the market in Great Britain without any hindrance. The device registration requirements are slightly different in Northern Ireland as a result of the Northern Ireland Protocol and the way that the Brexit agreement was implemented. As I said previously, in Great Britain, all devices need to be registered with the MHRA. In Northern Ireland, most devices should be registered with the MHRA, and there's slightly different grace periods. So from the 1st of January 2021, all Class 1 devices, custom-made devices and general IVDs should have been registered with the MHRA. And again, by May 2021, Class 3 and Class 2B implantable, all active implantable devices and List A IVDs should have been registered with the MHRA. And again, from the 1st of September, all Class 2B and Class 2A devices and List B IVDs and self-test IVDs should have been registered with the MHRA. It's important to note that if you have a Class 1 device, a custom-made device or a general IVD that has already been registered with an EU competent authority, and those products are only intended for the Northern Ireland market and not the wider GB market, then you may not need to register those devices with the MHRA. The registration with the EU competent authority is acceptable. So what else is different in Northern Ireland? The UK responsible person and authorised representative situation makes it a little bit complicated. A UK responsible person is required, again, if a manufacturer is located outside of the United Kingdom. This includes the EU, European Economic Area, and any EU third countries. However, if an EU authorised representative is located in Northern Ireland for the EU requirements, then a UK responsible person is not also required. The EU responsible person needs to be in place from the 1st of January 2021, and GB manufacturers will need an EU authorised representative or a Northern Ireland authorised representative when they're marketing into the EU. So again, device registrations need to be with the MHRA and can be performed either by the UK responsible person or by the EU authorised or Northern Ireland authorised representative. And to make it slightly easier, the single entity can be used for your UK RP and your authorised representative if they're based in Northern Ireland. So what does that mean for labelling? In Northern Ireland, the CE mark continues to be required, so you can continue to market devices that have the CE mark in that region. And the UKNI mark can be required, but must also be accompanied by the CE mark. And again, the UKNI mark is only applicable where a UK approved body has been involved in the assessment or the conformity assessment of that product. The CE alone can be accepted if an EU notified body has provided the conformity assessment, but UKCA cannot be used alone to access the Northern Ireland market. And just to note that if you have gone for a UK NI mark and you're applying the UK NI and CE mark, where a UK approved body has done the assessment against the EU MDR or the EU IVDR, then that assessment and those products cannot be presented into the EU. They won't be accepted into the EU because the assessments haven't been performed by an EU notified body. So the UKNI mark is really restricted for those products only being marketed in Northern Ireland and not being marketed in the EU. Again, the UK government has enabled unfettered access to the Great Britain market, but this only applies to those businesses and manufacturers based in Northern Ireland. So Northern Ireland manufacturers have access to the Great Britain market. The UKNICE or the CE mark can continue to allow them access to the UK market into GB. So this will continue after the 30th of June 2023. So the CE mark will continue to apply past that June 2023 deadline, but no further registration will be required for those manufacturers marketing products into the GB market from Northern Ireland. Again, dual marking will be acceptable in Northern Ireland. So if you are marketing both in Great Britain and Northern Ireland and you have a UKNI mark and a UKCA mark, those can both be on the product as long as you're marketing into both regions and you've got the appropriate conformity assessments. There is nothing to stop you dual marking. And it's important to note that assessments by the UK approved body are not recognised in the EU. So it is quite confusing. There's so many different rules, and with Northern Ireland diverging from Great Britain, it is slightly confusing. So this reference table hopefully gives you an idea of what is required in each region dependent on where you're located as the legal manufacturer. So if you think about where you're placed, where the country you're located in, the manufacturer location, where you're placing the product on the market, does it require registration with the MHRA? Do you require a UK responsible person? This table starts to help you through that process and think about what that means. So if you're placing your product onto the market in Great Britain and you're based in Northern Ireland, you will have to register your devices with the MHRA. You won't need a UK responsible person. You may not need an EU authorised representative because you're based in Northern Ireland, but you will require a CE mark up until at least the 30th of June 2023 for that grace period to access the UK market. You won't need a UKCA mark and you won't need a UK NI mark. So if you're placing your product onto the market in Northern Ireland and you're based outside of the UK, again, you will need to register your devices with the MHRA. You will need a UK responsible person. You obviously will also need an EU authorised representative if you're selling into the EU. You will continue to utilise the CE mark. You won't need a UKCA mark to access the Northern Ireland market, and you could use a UK NI mark if you utilise a UK approved body to access the Northern Ireland market where you're not accessing the EU market. And again, if you're placing your product on the EU market and you're based in Great Britain, you have to think about the CE marking requirements and those requirements of your EU notified body. If you're based in Great Britain, you will need an EU authorised representative, whereas if you're based in Northern Ireland, you will not need an EU authorised representative, and you will need the CE mark. So your UKCA mark or your UK NI mark won't get you into the EU market. So I've talked a little bit about UK approved bodies. What are UK approved bodies? They're approved bodies designated by the MHRA for conducting conformity assessment, which is very similar to notified bodies that are designated by competent authorities to conduct conformity assessment in the EU. The assessments of UK approved bodies are performed according to Part 2, Part 3 and Part 4 of the UK Medical Devices Regulations 2002 for the GB market, for the Great Britain market, and assessments can be conducted according to the EU MDR or the EU IVDR for the Northern Ireland market, where a UK approved body is designated for that scope. Former UK-based EU notified bodies automatically became UK approved bodies on the 1st of January 2021, and if you're interested in which UK approved bodies exist at the moment, there is the UK Market Conformity Assessment Body site on the MHRA website, which essentially replaces NANDO as we know it for the UK, and you can see the list of UK approved bodies there. From a TUV perspective, we are applying to become a UK approved body, and we are applying based on TÜV-SÜD BABT Unlimited, which may be a part of TÜV-SÜD that you've not heard about as a medical device manufacturer. TÜV-SÜD BABT is an existing conformity body in the UK and actually an existing UK approved body for a number of other schemes, and so we are building our medical devices approved body within that approved body, and what we know is that our approved body number is 0168. So when manufacturers come to us in future, once we're an approved body, they will be able to apply the UKCA 0168 on their products. There are a number of stages that an approved body has to go to before they can become designated. There's obviously the application stage, the designation audit, before being designated by the MHRA as a UK approved body. So what does UK conformity assessment look like? And these are questions that I regularly get asked in my role as head of the MHS UK approved body. And can we leverage existing certifications or existing assessments? So I'll go through what that means and whether that's possible over the next few slides. As I said previously, the UK medical devices regulations are in essence based on the EU, the outgoing EU directives. So as I've said before, Part 2 links to the Medical Devices Directive 93/42, Part 3 links to the Active Implantable Medical Devices Directive 93/85, and Part 4 links to the IVD Directive 98/79 EC. So there are a lot of similarities in the requirements of the EU directives and the UK regulations, and that means that the base requirements are similar and the assessments performed against the EU directives can be leveraged in the assessments under the UKCA. There are obviously differences that I'll talk about in a moment that would need to be assessed as part of UKCA, but there are significant similarities. And in addition, the EU MDR, while there are additional requirements in the EU MDR compared to the EU directives or the UK medical devices regulations, there are broad similarities in the requirements in terms of intended purpose, device definition, clinical data, and risk management and post-market activities, enough that the assessments performed under the EU MDR could also be partly leveraged in support of a UK MDR assessment. I should note that there is divergence between the IVD directive and the UK particularly in terms of the way devices are classified and the number of devices that would be affected. So it is harder to see how assessments performed under the IVDR in future could be leveraged to support UK MDR. So that's something to note if you're an IVDR manufacturer. So what does a UK conformity assessment look like? As I said, TÜV-SÜD BABT Unlimited are going to become a UK approved body, And we anticipate that conformity assessment could leverage existing certification. And by certification, I actually mean the existing assessments. So you can see the process here that as part of an initial assessment under UKCA, we would do an assessment of whether it is justified to leverage an existing directive assessment or regulation assessment where possible. As part of that initial assessment, we would have to verify the suitability of any directive assessments, and would also need to assess specific UK requirements. And on the bottom of this slide, you can see that registration of devices with the MHRA would need to be assessed. The UK responsible person would also need to be assessed if it's applicable. Labelling of medical devices, is the UKCA mark applied or the UKNI mark applied as appropriate on the labelling and IFU? Has the manufacturer got a process for incident reporting to the MHRA as well as other EU competent authorities and other international regulatory authorities? And does the manufacturer have a declaration of conformity to the UK MDR? So in addition to the verification of the existing assessments, we would do that assessment before issuing UKCA certification. It's important to note that if any issues are raised during the verification process, if there's outstanding major non-conformities or there are significant gaps in the assessments that have been done, there may be an issue and maybe additional assessments that are required specific to the UKCA before a UK certificate can be issued. One final note on this approach is that it's not necessarily limited to existing clients of that particular UK conformity assessment body, because if a manufacturer has assessments with another EU notified body, for example, against the MDD, it could be possible to leverage those assessments where sufficient documentation is available and sufficient verification and due diligence is done by the UK approved body. In addition, there will be an approach where a UK only assessment will be possible, and this will look very similar to what manufacturers have already experienced under the EU directives. So there will be an assessment of the quality system against ISO 13485 and the UK MDR, and there will also be an assessment of technical documentation against the UK MDR, and that technical assessment will encompass those aspects that are UK specific, including the registration of devices, the labelling and the appointment of the UK responsible person, incident reporting and declaration of conformity, and ensuring that the essential requirements are covered as well, specific to the UK MDR. And then finally, the UK certification is issued. There are other situations that manufacturers will need to be aware of and other considerations to be aware of, particularly for those products that contain medicinal products or human blood derivatives or animal tissues, particularly those containing TSE susceptible products. In these situations and for these products, a consultation with the MHRA will be required for the medicinal product, for the human blood derivative, and for the animal tissue. And this means that if you have these products and you're marketing in the UK and in the EU, you will need both a consultation in the UK and a consultation in the EU in order to market these devices in both regions. So if you're a manufacturer with these devices, it's important to take action as soon as possible. There is a grace period, but we all know that it can take a reasonable amount of time to get through these consultations as well as the approved body assessment. So certainly one to act on as soon as you can if you're a manufacturer of these products. So what's going to happen next? What are the future regulations in the UK? I have certainly seen some confusion about what's happening now and what's coming in future. So I thought it was important just to cover the future goings on and regulations and what might happen over the next couple of years. So you may be aware that on the 11th of February 2021, the UK government issued the Medicines and Medical Devices Act 2021, and this is a legal framework. It's a bill of parliament that establishes an ability of the UK government to amend the current UK medicines and medical devices regulations. And if you're interested, I've included the links here to that information. Since the issuance of that bill, the MHRA have introduced a delivery plan and outlined what they plan to do over the next 2 years and what requirements they are going to fulfill. And finally, over the last few weeks, you may have become aware that the MHRA have issued a consultation on the future regulation of medical devices. Again, this is a direct output of the Medicines and Medical Devices Act 2021 in order to implement a new regulatory framework or an amended regulatory framework. The MHRA and the government are required to perform a full consultation on the plans. So if you're a manufacturer, a user, a researcher, or a distributor of medical devices into the UK, you can contribute to that consultation. And we're all patients, so yeah, we should probably all contribute to that consultation if we want to have an opinion in future. So in summary, there are new regulations that have come into force in the UK since January 2021, and there is some divergence as we go forward between the Great Britain market and the Northern Ireland market for some requirements. There is a grace period, and CE will be recognised in Great Britain until the 30th of June 2023, and UKCA will become mandatory in Great Britain from the 1st of July 2023. However, in Northern Ireland, the CE mark will continue to be recognised after the 30th of June 2023 to access that market. All devices should be registered with the MHRA, with some exceptions in Northern Ireland, and where you're located as a manufacturer outside of the UK, then a UK responsible person should be appointed where applicable. And finally, TÜV is applying to become a UK approved body, and we will certainly inform our clients and the wider market as soon as we are designated and are able to share that good news with everyone. So thank you very much for listening to me, and if you've got any questions, I will be happy to try and answer them over the next few minutes. Thank you, everyone.
Great, Monisha. Thank you very much for this presentation. Very informative. Some new areas that have come to light since our last presentation earlier in the year. So indeed, we have a few questions that have come in. So maybe let's start with a straightforward question. And let's see what we got here. Actually, we got quite a few questions about labeling, but let's start with easier one. So here's one question. Will the dual labeling be accepted in Great Britain after the transition period?
So our understanding is that dual labeling of devices into the UK market should continue to be accepted. So if you have a CE mark on your products that are going into the EU and a UKCA mark going into the UK, the UK government haven't indicated that you can't place both products onto the same label. That may not be the case in the EU, so it is worth finding out what the requirements are in the UK, in the EU as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. There's another one here. What is the minimum size of the UKCA mark?
Okay. So the UK gov.uk website actually gives quite detailed information about the size of the UKCA mark, and it should be at least 5 millimeters in dimensions. So 5 millimeters height.
Okay, okay, perfect. So let's switch it up a bit. I need to come back to labeling because we've got 3 questions which are very similar. So I think we should answer those. But let's answer this question. If you sell in GB under UKCA and also sell in the EU under CE, is the UKNI mark redundant?
Okay, so if you sell into GB under and you also sell into EU, yeah, you wouldn't need the UKNI mark in that situation. Your CE mark would get you access to the Northern Ireland market, and your UKCA mark would get you access to the GB market.
Okay, perfect. So let's not return to labeling yet, but maybe how about this one? Is there an update based on the current NI protocol proposal, or is it too soon to know the impact?
It's a good question. I think it's a bit too soon to comment on that. It's only the new proposals have only been discussed and published this week, so it's not clear what these will say and how they could impact medical devices.
Right. Yes, there are a few more questions coming in as we talk, but let's see how we're getting on. So there's another one there. Is the UK rep the same as the authorized representative, or the person for regulatory compliance, or a combination of both?
The UK responsible person is similar to the EU authorised representative role in terms of their responsibilities. There is no similar requirement in the UK MDR for the person responsible for regulatory compliance at this point. No equivalent role in the UK.
So I guess the UK RP might carry out a few tasks that the person for regulatory compliance needs to carry out under the MDR.
So yeah, so the UK responsible person is responsible for engaging with the MHRA and issuing complaints and taking feedback from the MHRA. So it could be quite a similar role in some cases.
Okay. Okay, let's start with one of the labeling question, and then we'll probably just top it up with the other 2 questions, which are very similar, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Is it mandatory to have the responsible person and its address on the same label, which also contains the product data? Or is a separate label independent of the label with the product data required or sufficient?
So it's a good question. So the labeling should meet the requirements of Essential Requirements 13.3, and the manufacturer, the legal manufacturer, is responsible for demonstrating that labeling is suitably robust and readable and maintained for the shelf life of the device. So while there might not be a specific requirement that it all has to be on a single label, I would question if it's on a separate label, is it going to fall off? Is it not going to be seen? I would go back to the requirements that are there currently under the Medical Devices Directive for the CE mark and think about how you've applied labels in that case, and the requirements will be similar under the UKCA for the UK responsible person and the UKCA mark.
Okay, great. And I think there's another 2 questions on a similar vein, which basically, and I'm rephrasing them now both, which basically asks where the label for the UKRP should be placed, whether it should be placed on the outer packaging, or if there's insufficient space on the primary packaging, if it can be placed on the secondary packaging. So what do you say to that?
So again, the way that you've been dealing with your EU authorised representative on your labelling would be the similar approach that might be expected for the UKCA and the UK responsible person. So consider them essentially equivalent in terms of the requirements for your labelling. And if you're placing them separately, really consider that the labelling is robust for the lifetime or the shelf life of the device, and that it really will be visible and applicable and available for the users, because that's the important part, that the users can understand who the UK responsible person is, who to direct their complaints to. So it has to be visible, suitably visible.
And thank you, Manisha. And I think the next question, I think, was probably partially answered in the slides, but let's just re-emphasize the point. Is the simultaneous display of UKCA symbol together with the CE symbol allowed on a single label in the EU?
All I can comment is that from a UK perspective, there is no known objection to dual marking to place products onto the UK market. It is less clear whether the EU will accept dual marked UKCA CE devices, and I think you would need to approach the EU authorities or the Commission to confirm whether dual labelling will be allowed in the EU in future.
Okay, great. We've answered quite a few questions here, maybe some which were more difficult. So how about we'll answer maybe a more straightforward one about our process. So the question is, as a manufacturer, we have a CE mark with another notified body. Can we apply for UKCA with TUV suit? Yeah.
And the answer is yes. We will be accepting applications from manufacturers that have certification with another notified body. And as I said in my slides regarding conformity assessment, the intention is to be able to leverage existing assessments against the directives where they've been done, and that does, it's not leveraging certifications, so it won't be a tick box approach to, well, you've got an MDD certificate, we can accept you and just do the difference between that certificate and UK MDR. It will be verifying that the assessments that have been done are acceptable and to support the UKCA approach. So really looking at the assessment reports from the existing notified body under the MDD or AIMD or others, and the way that I would approach it is that it's going to look similar to a transfer assessment as they were under the Medical Devices Directive. So yes, we will be able to do it. Yes, it will be more of an abridged assessment. It won't be a completely brand new initial assessment unless significant issues are identified. So there is an approach to leverage existing documentation. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for a comprehensive answer on this one, and maybe just to put you on the spot there, and maybe also for the last question of today's webinar. So, and I think it was meant to say consultation, but if the CE-MDD consultation was already done with the MHRA for CE marking, would we need to repeat that consultation for UKCA? It's probably for the medicine, I would assume.
So this is another good question, and similar to the approved body having to do a full initial assessment, but they can justify leveraging existing assessments, it could be anticipated that if the MHRA have performed the previous consultation, they may be able to leverage their existing assessments. From an approved body perspective, we would need to do an assessment and approach the MHRA for feedback on whether that's feasible. We understand that where the MHRA has already done the consultation, there will still need to be a supplementary consultation, but there may not need to be a full initial consultation.
Okay, great. Didn't put you on the spot that much, so that's good. So yes, I think that was our last question that we had received. Thank you once again, everybody, for joining today's webinar and the very interesting questions. As I said at the beginning, you will receive a recording and the slides or link to the recording after the webinar. Thank you very much for attending, and everybody have a good day.